rate is about what, 14%?
Yeah, 15%.
Yes,
yeah.
14%. Within the next 4 years, what percentage are you reducing it by, or the plans that you have in place, what is it likely to reduce it by?
I think you said this earlier in the program. I'm not going to call a number. It's going to reduce, but I'm not going to call a number. Most people will be working. Most people will be working in the private sector. We're going to encourage entrepreneurship through the apprenticeship program, through the Jumara program, where business startup policies, will be in place to help people with startups. We are going to do the digital initiative. We're going to leverage of ICT. The youth are into ICT. We're going to leverage on that. So most people will be working. I think one of the things that we have to think about carefully is overheating of the economy. And I know you may think I'm being ambitious, but that could easily happen. And we could see inflation etching up in the last 2 years of the Mahama Opokajeman economy, because people will be working and there'll be more money chasing fewer goods. And that's why production is going to be important, so that whatever money supplies in the system can feed into the demand, and we have production to take care of that, and we have export also to take care of that, so that we don't end up with any, an increased or elevated inflation. As you know, as employment goes up, inflation also generally follows. So we'll work on that to make sure that we're able to supply into demand. And that will be through the 24-hour economy policy, through the big push and so forth. So basically, we will expand the economy. We will expand the tax net, not by going straight out to try and force people, but get the informal sector to grow to the extent where they are comfortable being in the tax net. Get to the stage where illegal miners are comfortable being registered, trained to do things properly. Get to the stage where climate change is important for us, so that we are not dealing with perennial floods. We are not dealing with even new acts of nature, because those risks are there. The risks that are associated with climate change, and that could end up making us spend money on unforeseen stuff. Even health issues that could come up, we need to manage those. If you remember, when Ebola attempted West Africa, took some parts of West Africa down, Ghana was protected. Unfortunately, with COVID, we were not as lucky, but still we could have managed that even better. So all those risks are going to be mitigated as much as possible as we grow the economy. The next 4 years is about growing the economy. The results will most likely be seen in the final year, which will be an election year anyway, and you know what happens in election years. But I think most of the benefits will be seen in the subsequent years. Most of the benefits, yeah.
Forgive me, when the NPP was coming into power in 2017, in the 2016 manifesto, it promised a double-digit growth rate. We know that that never happened. What is the promise of the NDC in terms of growth rate?
I think we will continue to push for the single digit at least. And if we are able to do double digits, that will be a plus. But we are not going to overpromise and underperform. In our case,
but people would like, forgive me, people would like something to work with, estimates they can actually plan their future with.
Yes, so
what is the NDC targeting?
I'll give a range. The range will be anywhere between 6 to highest 10% growth rate. Now, because it's also going to depend on new things that will come into the revenue space, into the production space. We are expecting that we'll bring more people into the private sector to produce more and import less. So we should see an expansion in agriculture, in industrialization, and even in the financial services sector, which has always led the pack. So we should see some good growth rate.
Now, in 2017, Professor William Barboatin, in assessing the difficulties with employment creation in the country, had a paper that suggested we need to do consistently 8% for a reasonable period of time before growth results into employment and the creation of jobs, because
Yeah.
we've been suffering jobless growth for a very long time. This estimation that you are given, is it truly going to result in the creation of jobs?
So when I talk about 6 to 10 and he talks about we staying consistently at 8 to have any impact, I think we're on the same page. Therefore, the things we've discussed this morning, creating that enabling environment, having the utilities consistent, reliable in place, the 24-hour economy, the big push, creating job opportunities in the private sector for the youth and for those who are willing to work, that will support that growth rate. That will surely support that growth rate. Agri-processing, we haven't been big on that as a nation. We are quick to send out our raw material, which most of is not food, but we are quick to send that away. We need to start processing that. Now we are quick to import food. We need to start being self-sufficient in terms of food, and also processing food for longer shelf life and substituting imports. So with that, then we know that keeping an 8% growth rate consistent for a longer period in order for us to do well will be something that is very, very feasible. And that is what we are going to work on. So this time it's not going to be business as usual at all. I think we've heard President Mahama talk about the people he will put into office. These will be people who will be looking to just create that enabling environment, to make sure the policies are put into place, to make sure private sector is able to do well. No crowding out of the capital markets, local capital market, that private sector can borrow and do their work. They will be monitored. The banks will be focusing more on the private sector doing well than they showing huge profits. It will be about growing the economy. It's not going to be a 24-hour economy for those who want it to be for them, and therefore we'll see that happen. So yes, those growth rates can happen. That's why I talked also about the risks, the headwinds that Ghana could face and how we should mitigate them. It's going to be very important that we are able to sustain our debt, because that is how you send signals to future lenders or potential lenders. Right now, we've restructured our debt. Fine, we have to keep to it. How do we do that? The sinking fund must be replenished so that as debt repayment comes up, we pay it. We don't go back into default. Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund, we need more infrastructure to support trade, to support the agri-processing, to support farming and so forth. So that is going to happen as well. The stabilization fund will also be there to support us in the event of any risks coming up. So yes, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough road, but we will work it. We will make it happen for the sake of Ghana. We will make that